Today I'm going to be listening to a piece for voice and orchestra by Gustav Mahler, his Kindertotenlieder. And currently my laptop is not booting up, so I'm going to be recording this from my phone today. I'll try to keep it short. Um, Hopefully the problem doesn't persist because I don't have a lot of physical scores to go through in the series, but this is one of them. This is a Calmus miniature score. It doesn't have a lot of front matter, unfortunately. There's no instrumentation page. There's just the names of the 5 movements, and then it goes straight into the score. Now, so from what I can discern, the instrumentation is 2232, 2000, harp, percussion, and strings. Let me see if there's more brass that comes in later. Actually, there's 4 horns in the 5th movement. But let me go through each movement, actually, for the instrumentation. So, movement 1, the instrumentation is what I described. There's a bass clarinet. Both the other clarinets are in B flat. And there's the major percussion part is bells. Now, the second movement, there are 2 clarinets in A. There's no third one. And there's a timpani part. And only 1 horn part. So that's the big difference there. And all the strings are muted in the second movement, at least at the start. Third movement has English horn. The second oboe is doubling. And the second clarinet is doubling on bass. Nothing weird there. Movement 4, similarly, is just very normal. And number 5, the 2 clarinets are in A. There's actually a third, turns out there is a third oboe part. So there are 2 oboes plus English horn. There's actually a third flute part in the 5th movement. There's 2 flutes and piccolo. And there's a third bassoon part. Contrabassoon in addition to 2 bassoons. So scratch what I said before. It's actually triple winds. But yeah, there's not a lot of brass here. And the 5th movement has a bass clarinet in A and 2 clarinets in A, which is kind of interesting. You don't see a lot of bass clarinet in A in a lot of scores, but this is one of them. As for the program note on this thing, I think Mahler wrote this obviously on the topic of children dying when he lost one of his own children, and musicologists have talked about this a lot, like this sort of like contrast between childhood and death in not only Mahler's music but his personal life. And I think it's a fascinating topic. From what I remember, these 5 songs are very beautiful, and I'll put a link to the recording in the video description today, and I'll let you know what I think on the listen today. This is barely 20th century music. It's like very early 20th century, but I'm excited to revisit it. Okay, so my thoughts on these. They're very emotional works. I don't know if it's just because my laptop's dying and I'm hungover or what, but yeah, I was like tearing up a little bit listening to some of these, even though I don't, I'm just an English speaker. I don't really know the text that well. It's, yeah, really powerful. I'm sure in the wrong hands, you could have a really ineffective performance of it, just because the part writing is very dense at times. You have to have a really good understanding of what to bring out. There's a lot of 3-part textures and things. The first movement, I think, is the most iconic. It's the one I think of when I listen to this, because the oboe line and the oboe and horn stuff that keeps coming back. And what I find really interesting about the first movement is you don't really get the full strings until the end. You don't get a typical orchestra sound until the end of the first movement, and it's a real moment. And I kind of like that idea. And yeah, the fifth movement kind of caught me off guard because I wasn't expecting something faster, and it's a lot heavier forces. It sounds a little bit, at least in the performance I listened to, it's a bit noisy. It's actually quite hard to hear what's going on. More interesting than a lot of his symphonies, in my opinion. And yeah, they're just my favorite. Hence why I have the score.